People can be so rude. And when you've been through trauma, especially as a kid, rude people, they don't just annoy you, they throw you off. You freeze, you lash out, you replay the moment for the next 3 days, berating yourself for not handling it better. But there's a way to stay grounded and still speak up without making things worse. You don't have to fight, but you do need to stop abandoning yourself. And here's what rudeness can look like when you've got a history of trauma. All right, someone makes a snide comment at work. A family member, throws in a crappy remark about your weight or your choices. A friend jokes that you're too sensitive or too much. Other people might brush it off, but for you, it hits something, old. Because if you were punished for having needs, if you just had to suffer with those all by yourself as a child, if you learned that speaking up meant punishment or isolation, then rude behavior doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like a threat. And that reaction is a trauma reaction. It's not just about what was said, it's about what it represents and the pattern it echoes from your past. Being a YouTuber, I put out videos 4 or 5 times a week. People comment on them. And, to be honest, I've never received so much kindness and support and love in my life as what you write under the videos. And I also learned so much about people and what their experience has been. But every day, it's especially early in the morning, they come at night, a few people who are just there to tear me down. And it does hurt. And my husband, who does not have complex PTSD, he'll just say, why do you even care? Just delete them. And I'll take it so hard. If somebody will criticize my face, my voice, my opinion, even when they criticize me for something I didn't say, which is pretty common, actually, they'd be like, oh, you're just one of those blah, 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 fill in the blanks of whatever they're projecting about me. And, yeah, I don't know. Lately, I've been making a lot of videos for women, and men will come on and go, you obviously hate men. And it's just like, I'm rolling my eyes now, but that's because I have a daily practice to release that, because it feels like a total attack. Like I shouldn't, I should stop making videos. I've made a terrible mistake making videos that address women. You can see from the outside that that's not reasonable, but that's what my trauma does. It's like if people are going to threaten me, because honestly, if people say enough bad things about you publicly, like on social media, it can ruin your life. I mean, you can actually ruin your own life by saying things on social media, but people can say things, accuse you of things. So that is something that I have to live with every day. And there are times when it has hurt me. There are times, like it actually has hurt my life, has hurt my reputation. There are times when it really couldn't or didn't, but it hurt me. It hurt my confidence. It made me afraid to get up and create things or to say what's true. And I started censoring myself to try to make sure that people don't get mad at me. But you literally can't stop people from being mad at you. And in a way, that's the healing thing about doing my work, is that there's so many people out there to react to me. And isn't it dumb? There'll be 1,000 wonderful comments, that are thoughtful and deep and vulnerable and kind and supportive. And then one person calls me a bitch. And then I go, oh yeah, I should quit. So if that happens to me, I'm sure not surprised if it happens to you. Trauma can make us sort of abandon everything, just abandon our post if we're getting that difficulty. So clearly this kind of online behavior can go into the realm of abuse, but I want to just talk about rude, just like the everyday things that happen. When, here's what most people miss. When someone is rude to you, you don't owe them a perfect response. I learned this on YouTube too. I can ignore people. I can ignore them. And I can't, that's the worst punishment for somebody who wants attention, isn't it? But you don't have to ignore it. But you don't have to have a perfect response. You just need to not betray yourself in the moment. And that means don't pretend it didn't happen. You don't have to let it fester for 3 days. That's like running, poison through your nervous system. It's like putting sugar in the gas tank. It's just going to really mess you up if you let that fester. You need a way to process that out. And then you don't want to let it cause you to blow up and make everything worse than it already was. If somebody calls me a bitch and then I just start lashing out, well, where are we now? This is not about being clever or self-righteous, though. This is about being clear with yourself and not damaging yourself with your response. You don't always need to come back to this, but when you can't walk away or the comment was too pointed to ignore, you need something that lets you hold your ground and, stay in your integrity without getting dragged into a big scene. Because then what happens? Did you know that like when someone is with you and they make a scene, that's a form of emotional abuse? You don't want to have a scene. Emotions are hard enough and conflicts are hard enough. So when someone is like making a scene with you or being rude to you, probably if you have the kind of trauma wounds I have, you get dysregulated. Your whole nervous system starts losing its composure. Your focus is shot. Like if I have an argument with my husband, I really don't want to do that. Sometimes all marriages have to have arguments. But if it, even a very civil, productive argument for me is going to cause some dysregulation. And it's really a shame when it happens in the morning because I probably won't be able to get productive again until 1 o'clock. I got to get down into my tools. I've got to release it. And of course, my mind always thinks I should just push through, maybe get in a few I told you so's or, none of that works. None of that works. Once I'm dysregulated, the number one priority is to get re-regulated. So if you're getting dysregulated when people are rude to you, that's what's costing you. Much more than the words they said. It's like what's going on inside you. Could be 6 hours or 2 or 3 days before you get re-regulated and get your mental focus back. So if this happens to you, like a big stressful event hits you like a tsunami and it gets you flustered and emotionally overwhelmed, this is neurological dysregulation. And if you think that's going on, by the way, I can share with you the signs. Yeah, that sounds like dysregulation. It's a free download. You can have it. You can access it by clicking that link I've just put in the top row of the description section below this video. Check that out down there. You can decide when people are rude to you to just let it pass. Sometimes that's a very good thing to do because it stops you from getting into a conflict. But if you always let things pass, there's a resentment and a sort of self-suppression that can spring up, and those are not good either. So there's no cookie cutter response to this. But you can name the problem to yourself, but you don't have to give it energy by speaking to it or responding to it or trying to fix it. Just stay calm, and then you stay powerful. All right, here's something you can say. You can go, huh? Somebody says something really rude to you and you just go, huh? Pretty cool, huh? It's not a perfect answer, but it totally puts the focus back on them and puts them on the spot. So the huh, it can't be like, huh? It's got to be like flat tone, no follow-up. And their discomfort is then what's going to fill the space, but not yours. Just let them deal with the feeling of alienating you like that without any more to it. Another thing you can say is, okay. Now let's think about all the inflections there. You can be like, okay. You can do that. You can go, okay. Any way you want to do it is fine. But I would recommend a neutral tone, not a provocative tone, not one that's inviting an argument. So not sarcastic, but not like weak, like, okay. Just say, okay. Now you don't agree, but you don't have to explain that you don't agree. You're just ceasing engagement. You can say, well, that's not for me. That's simple. You don't defend it. You don't get into a debate about it. You just set a boundary and you move on. And there's another form of that I like, and it's going, well, I don't really agree with that, but I hear you. Or you can say, I don't really respond to that kind of comment. And that's it. You try not to just dive into shaming them about it, but that's a little bit more stern than what I've told you before. You're not trying to be right. You're just showing where you stand. You're like, this is the boundary, my friend. You can say, not helpful. So that way you name the impact, not the intent. It breaks the spell of passive aggression. All right, let's say somebody just hits you with a really hard criticism. You give them eye contact. You take a short pause and you go, got it. It's actually quite powerful, isn't it? There's no snark. You're not smiling. It's just a firm, energetic boundary without saying a single unkind word. Now, these comebacks let you stay clear and composed, even when someone is trying to get a rise out of you. That's what they want. You do not have to give them a rise, but it's not just because you want to not give them what they want that you don't want to, get into it with them. It's because your nervous system is going to have to pay a price, and you're not really in the moment able to make that judgment. Is this worth it? Is this worth losing half a day of being able to focus or 3 days? It almost never is. One of my regrets sometimes when people are awful to me is that I get sort of frozen in the moment and I don't speak up. And I always think like in the moment is a great time to do it, but not if you're dysregulated, because it's not going to come out right. It's not going to be like that slam dunk response that you're hoping for. And it would be better to let things slide and come back and say something thoughtful after the moment, even if it takes some of the immediate impact out, even if it allows the hurt that has been caused to you to sit with you for a while. You now have a way to get rid of it. You don't need to win. You don't need to fix them. You just need to stay with yourself. And if you grew up around high conflict, yelling, sarcasm, rejection, then you probably learned to read people's tone of voice like your life depended on it, right? But now you can't always tell if someone's just being awkward or actually trying to hurt you. And sometimes we're inclined to think that it's intentional when it's not. And that uncertainty, it pulls you back into the same old loop. You don't know if you should speak up or let it go. You don't want to be the bad guy, but you don't want to be a, doormat either. It's not that you're too sensitive. It's that your nervous system, has this memory of what has happened to you, and it can't always go into stressful situations with all your cognition and all your wisdom active in you. Sometimes the worst in you can leak out in those moments. So now it's your job to build new reference points, to teach yourself over time that you can speak clearly and still be okay. That you can let something go without collapsing in shame, that you can walk away, not from the person, but from the pattern. You don't have to be unbothered like, some Zen master. You don't have to feel safe. I think that concept of safety is overrated. It imagines that you can control your environment and how everybody talks and what triggers you. A trigger is something that sets off dysregulation in you. And dysregulation is when your nervous system isn't working properly, it's sort of getting all discombobulated, and you then don't have your inner resources and your best wisdom and your careful sense of when to speak up and in what way for the best results. That's not with you when you're dysregulated, so it's a bad time. It's good instead to feel that when you get triggered like that, when you're in dysregulation, when you don't know what to do, you have tools and you know what to do. The single most effective method I've ever found to access the inner power to, find your resources, to be able to respond in a way that you choose, is the set of techniques that I call my daily practice. And this can help you shake off the harsh thoughts and feelings that so many of us with a history of trauma end up ruminating on. It's a free course. You will love it, and you can have it for free. But seriously, try this technique and see what happens, and see if it raises you up to a whole new level that commands respect from other people. It's this funny thing that happens, like when people pick on you, when they get in your space, when they insult you, and that's happening all the time. Sometimes it's not even like a conscious strategy. Something changes in your energy when you're carrying less self-attack, less stress. Something changes in your energy, and they do not F with you. Have you ever noticed that? Try it on the sidewalk sometime, right? Try it on the sidewalk. Do you ever have those days you're walking down the sidewalk and everybody's bumping into you as if you're not there? And then other days they feel your presence. You are presence. So when you have that presence, it's almost like an invisible shield. The daily practice helped me develop that. And so now people are a lot more reluctant to take a dig at me, definitely in person. Online, I think people can imagine, they think online we imagine ourselves to be quite powerful, I think. But in person, people are very reluctant to take a dig at me because they feel that sort of force field around me, and they don't even know why. So I'm going to put the link to my daily practice course down in the second row of the description section below this video. You'll be able to find it there. You can be someone who notices the dig that they take, who feels that sting, and who still chooses how you want to respond. That's what real strength looks like. That's what real safety is. It's not control. It's not perfectionism. It's clarity. It's access to your inner power. Most people don't know how to deal with rudeness, especially if you've spent your life over-explaining, apologizing, or going numb in order to survive, just going invisible. But that changes now. So here's your move. Pause for just 1 second. Let the moment where someone's rude to you, let it land, and then ask yourself, is this mine to fix, or can I let it pass? And if you need to respond, say one clean sentence and then move on. No scenes, no lectures, no shame, no spiraling. Just you holding your clarity in the middle of a whole bunch of noise. That's what it means to stop abandoning yourself. That is what healing actually looks like. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. Well, this is how friendships fall apart. This kind of thing is how it falls apart, and it's not your fault you got this way. This is a really common and normal response to having grown up with trauma, but of course we all want to work on it and learn to handle it even better.